Commissioner, it's good to see you again here.
It's good to be with you again.
We're seeing diesel up sharply, nitrogen, fertilizer up more than 30% in some cases. At what point do you think this will cause farmers to cut back on production?
Well, we've already seen the effects of that. Our corn acres are down. That requires a lot of nitrogen, a lot of fertilizer. Being replaced with soybeans. Soybeans are a legume. They make their own nitrogen, so less fertilizer costs. We've seen a little bit of shift there. It's not quite as bad as it seems on the surface. So our wheat crop, all fertilized last fall, last year's prices. A lot of farmers book their fertilizer in the fall and winter for tax reasons. So probably 70 or 80% of the fertilizer was already booked.
So it means it was locked in.
Locked in,
okay.
Locked in. But we've got other crops that use a lot of fertilizer. Corn is one of them. So we've already got a corn up in Texas, so it was fertilized before the Strait, lockdown.
Sure.
But we're getting the hay season. Hay uses lots of nitrogen fertilizer. Now we can make our own nitrogen. We make that out of natural gas into a product called urea or anhydrous ammonia.
Sure.
But we can't make enough of it in the spring because it's just a big surge. We just can't quite get there. The problem we have is with phosphorus and potassium. That has to be mined, and we really don't have those mines. That comes out of Canada and Russia.
And then diesel fuel too, though. That's impacting farms across the state.
Diesel is a big factor. It's way up. In the late 90s, we switched to no-till farming, which we went from 5 gallons of diesel per acre to 1 gallon. So we reduced our fossil fuels 80%. But still, it's a factor because we use it to run our combines, our tractor. We did get some relief from the EPA. They're going to roll back the requirement to use DEF in our equipment, diesel efficiency fluid, which is very expensive and causes a lot of downtime. It's going to save us about $13 billion. So
wow.
We got that shut off. So that's good.
People may not realize, but what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz in Iran is directly impacting farmers in Texas.
Yes.
Are farmers, it seems so far away, are farmers upset about this? Are they taking a side on this?
Oh, we definitely notice it, but we're used to adversity. That's all we live. We live with adversity, with floods, famines, feasts, fires, hailstorms, tariffs,
this isn't
embargoes.
This isn't a natural issue here, and it still affects the bottom line, right?
Well, of course it does. Of course it does. Now, we've got the administration's doing everything it can for the farmer. There's probably going another tranche of bridge payments out of the tariffs. They're taking several $1 billion of the tariffs and spending it on infrastructure for fertilizer, where we can make our own fertilizer. So that's going into the works this week.
But, okay, so you and I talked last time about there might be a bailout for farmers because of tariffs. Right. Will there be a second bailout because of what's happening in Iran?
They haven't announced it, but I believe that will happen.
Wow, how much money are we talking about here, do you think?
The last one, I believe, was $13 billion, so something in that range probably would happen again.
And Commissioner, people will be watching this and saying, listen, the Trump administration got itself into both of these situations, the tariff situation and the Iran situation here. These aren't natural disasters, hurricanes or something else that's impacting these, or droughts. What do you say to folks who say that, farmers shouldn't, the Trump administration should not be paying out farmers for something that it's to blame for?
Well, here it's a matter of national security. We have to keep our farmers in business because already we're in big trouble. Remember, on one show we talked about the agriculture trade deficit. We're buying $50 billion more food than we're selling. That's never happened before. So we got to get out of that situation. And letting farmers go deeper and deeper in debt is not a solution. So we have alternatives to fertilizer that we're using. If you live near a poultry farm, a dairy feedlot, a hog operation, you can use chicken manure or manure out of those for fertilizer. So that's an option. You can change crops. Plant a legume that makes its own nitrogen. So we're kind of like the Marines. We improvise and we adapt and we overcome.
Consumers haven't felt the full impact yet because economists say that's still coming here. When do you expect Texans to see this impact at the grocery store?
I don't think we're going to see much of it at the grocery store.
You don't think so?
No.
But farmers can't absorb this, can they?
Well, keep in mind that when you buy something at the grocery store, the farmer gets about 6 cents of that. Rest of it's in transportation, production, advertising, retail markup. So it's not, if wheat and a loaf of bread costs an extra 2 cents, consumers really won't feel that.
You don't think the rising cost of diesel fuel and fertilizer is going to impact people at the grocery store, though?
I don't think the fertilizer will. The diesel, because that's transportation.
It could hit them twice.
Yeah, you get it everywhere, not only on the production end of the agriculture production, but on deliveries and freight. That's a big deal. That could drive it up.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Commissioner. As far as rising prices, though, you don't think that the consumers will see that?
I think it'll be negligible. We're seeing fuel prices, roll back. If we could ever get that worked out, I think fuel prices are going to come down a lot faster than fertilizer prices.
The Houston Chronicle reported that nearly 60% of farmers say their financial situation is worsening. Are we at risk of losing smaller farms in this state?
We are. We haven't had a good year in a long time, except in the beef industry. Cow-calf producers, it's a bright spot. They're making a little money, but the commodities, the row crop guys, just really haven't. So they need a little help, need a little good luck, need a little God's guidance on their farm.
And I asked you at the beginning, though, about whether you're hearing from farmers who've cut back on planting because of the lack of fertilizer and diesel fuel. It's harder to get, it's more expensive. Are there specific crops that farmers just are moving away from? Is it corn? Is it?
We're moving a little less corn and more soybeans, but just a little less fertilizer. We can get by 1 year, we're cutting back a little bit, but you can't do that 2 or 3 years in a row. And I think this is temporary. I think we're going to get that Strait worked out, Strait of Hormuz worked out with Iran, and one way or the other, hopefully we'll be out of this by summer.
Farmers are big supporters of President Trump. Do you think that they are fans of the first year and a half between tariffs and this issue in Iran?
They're sticking with him. He gave them the bridge loan. He propped them up when they didn't make any money. He made sure they stayed in business. They appreciate that. They'd rather have a profit than a handout, but they'd rather not go out of business either. So he's making sure that they're made whole.
Let's talk about the screwworm here. You and I discussed the New World screwworm. It's not a worm, it's a fly, I believe you originally said here. Yeah. Last time we had you on, you were talking about the tremendous effort that the state and USDA are doing down in South Texas, breeding sterile flies to try to infiltrate these flies that are spreading this disease. At stake here is the beef industry in this state, right?
Well, all livestock, all wildlife.
All livestock.
All mammals, actually.
We're getting close. It seems to me that it seems to me there was a plan to stop this, but you think it's getting worse?
It's not getting stopped. Since January 2025, we've released 7,200,000,000 sterile flies. It's just as bad. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. We have not stopped them.
7 billion flies, though? That hasn't impacted this?
No. Has not done one thing. They've come from 1,100 miles away within 62 miles of the Texas border. And we kept having more cases every day. We average somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 cases a week, and it's been that constant for 72 months. We haven't made any headway, other than they've made their way from southern Mexico to northern Mexico. And we're losing that battle. And we're not using all the tools that we could. We could send this back to Central America in 90 days if we just use the fly bait that USDA developed in 1975.
Why aren't we using that?
They say it will kill too many good flies. I don't know what a good fly is, but hey, if it kills good flies, I guess they're talking about a blowfly. Screwworm is a type of blowfly. It feeds on living flesh. Blowflies live on decaying flesh. If we kill too many, we got fly factories. Let's just make some more of them, turn them loose. We're back even. So we need, short of doing that, we're going to be fully infested this summer with screwworm flies. And it's going to take us 3 years to produce enough of the sterile flies to get this under control. So we're going to have to live with it at least 3 more years.
We've talked about the New World screwworm being dangerously close to Texas in the past. You mentioned it's about 60 miles from the border here. How imminent is this threat? How much danger is this to livestock farmers across the state?
Livestock, that's a $30 billion industry, so that's pretty damaging. But it doesn't stop there. Wildlife industry, we've got 5 million head of deer. We've got 1 million under high fence, exotics. But it's sheep, goats, it's pets, it's humans. There's been 3,000 human cases in Mexico of screwworm infestation in humans. We've
Can people survive it?
If you get to them quick enough, a lot of times it'll be a nasal discharge. They'll lay their eggs in the nostrils, around the watery eyes, or in the ear canal. And keep in mind, the reason they call it a screwworm, it's actually a larva. And the larva hatches out, it keeps burrowing itself deeper and deeper and deeper. So within a matter of, hours, 48, 72 hours, they can be in your brain. It's like out of a horror movie. This is bad stuff.
For people who don't understand this, Commissioner, this parasite eats living tissue here. What would an outbreak in this state mean to ranchers? What would it look like to ranchers?
Well, we have some tools that we didn't have in the 60s and 70s, thank goodness. We have some anti-parasitic drugs. One of them people recognize is ivermectin. It's effective against it. It'll prevent it, it'll cure it. One even better is called Dectomax. It's another anti-parasitic drug. So we can use those, it's actually labeled for pets. Humans can take it. I've got an emergency order ready to go. We can put it in animal feed, livestock feed, wildlife feed.
You have an emergency order ready to go?
Yes, from FDA. Yeah.
So how many doses do you have, and would that be spread out across the state?
We have to manufacture it. So until we get it, we can't pull the emergency order.
And this would be like for farmers to take a number of doses to put it in their livestock, right?
Yeah, and
ranchers, rather.
Well, they can already do that. But we just couldn't put it in the feed. But we'll be able to put, and the reason we want to put it in feed is not for livestock. It's for those high fence ranches that keep out feed for their deer and their exotic game animals. People that feed their deer corn, we can lace the corn with ivermectin and keep them from getting it. And the pigs and anything else that eats the corn.
Do you expect the demand for ivermectin, I guess, to increase?
Oh, yeah.
As we have an outbreak, approaches?
It will, yeah. A lot of farmers have already stocked up in anticipation.
And if screwworm significantly impacts cattle herds here in this state, what happens to beef prices?
Well, it's already had an effect on the beef prices because we get 15% of our stocker cattle out of Mexico.
Right.
And we've been shut down since January 2025. So we've got almost 2 million head of cattle backed up in Mexico that would normally be in our feedlots by now and being on people's plates. So it's exasperated the beef situation in that it's took another 15% of the cattle off the market that would normally have going to consumers.
So you expect it to potentially get worse, I guess, if this fly comes across the border?
Well, the cattle prices will drop, but the price at the grocery store won't.
It won't drop.
And we've got Mexico, since they've got all these cattle backed up, their prices have dropped 30 and 40%, while ours are high. What are they going to do with them?
Down there, right?
Well, they're building more feedlots. They're adding on their feedlots. They got to do something. They're planting their own corn. They're expanding their own processing facility. We're losing all that business because it's going to stay in Mexico instead of come to Texas.
Before I let you go, political question. What's next for you?
You know, I've had a life before politics. I run cattle. I've got a horse operation. I've got a landscape construction. I've got a 120-acre tree farm. I'm going to continue my TV show. So look forward to that. We've got.
Are you done with politics?
Probably not. I've got some fight left in me. I doubt it. I doubt it seriously.
You think we'll see you on a ballot in the future?
I'm not going to say no. Never say no. But be nice to take a break, just to be honest with you.
Commissioner, always good to see you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. God bless.